Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So here's another profile for you guys today. This time's on Phantom Knights. Now, of course, with this build, I am running the Adventure Token package simply because they just offer so much utility and a great way just to get a free Omni Negate out on the board. And what's also interesting about Phantom Knights that this deck, similar to Sprites where they focus on level 2s, this one focuses a lot on level 3 monsters. And yeah, like this deck's just full of different extenders that just really come in handy. And it can actually play around Disruption rather well. It's very resilient. And again, going back to Kashtira Riceheart being banned, this deck is actually much playable. Now, there are some builds out there that play the Horus cards. I opted not to play those simply because I feel like, yeah, though it is a good engine, and it is pretty good for PK, I think the deck can still perform just fine without it. And yeah, I decided to play like more of a stun-based build, which we'll get to more about that later on. But yeah, I figured I'd just show you guys what I came up with for this deck, and let's get started. All right, so my main deck is actually 48 cards. I know it's crazy, but yeah, this deck can actually play probably up to 50 cards tops and can still be fairly consistent. So starting off with 3 copies of Torn Scales. Torn Scales is definitely one of the best ones. You can discard 1 card, send a Phantom Knights card from your deck to your grave, except itself. And if another Phantom Knights card in your graveyard is banished while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card back from the grave, but banish it when it leaves the field. The banishment, you don't have to worry about it too much because we are on Levier the Sea Dragon, and also if you just use this card as Xyz material, it'll just recycle itself back into the graveyard anyway. So that's the cool thing about the Phantom Knights cards in general. Next up, 3 copies of Silent Boots. Probably my personal favorite of the bunch, simply because like this card does a lot for you. If you control the Phantom Knights monster, you can special summon this card literally for free from your hand. And of course, you can only summon it this way once per turn. You can banish this card from your grave, add 1 Phantom Knight spell or trap. Now keep in mind, there is a difference between the Phantom Knights and Phantom Knight spells. But this one will search out your Fog Blade essentially. And yeah, not much more to explain from there. Next up, 2 copies of the Phantom Knight's Ancient Cloak. I've been thinking about running this at 3. I probably should anyway, but the reason why I'm not is because, and again, we'll get to that momentarily. But yeah, you mostly use this for the graveyard effect. You can banish this card from your grave, add 1 The Phantom Knights card, so it searches out both the spells and traps, as well as the monsters as well. But you can also, but it's cool that it searches out your Brigadine, because it is technically a trap monster, which is pretty handy overall. So yeah, I definitely like what this card can do. But yeah, this is the card I've been thinking about cutting. 1 copy of Ragged Gloves. I like it because it does give your Xyz monsters a boost by 1,000 attack points. And then you can banish this card from your grave, send 1 Phantom Knights card from your deck to your hand, so it acts as another Foolish Burial card. But at the same time, like, it's a little iffy at times, so like, I don't know if it's still worth playing now, but you guys can let me know in the comments on what you think. But moving on, I am actually playing 1 copy of Phantom Knights of Stained Greaves. I like this card because if the Phantom Knights monster is special summoned to your field, you can special summon this card from your hand and then increase this card's level by 1. This is kind of important because, we do run some rank 4s, mainly Abyss Dweller being our biggest one, because like we're in a format where like graveyard effects are very prevalent, and it's especially strong against Tear Element, because like, yeah, Tear Element does a lot of crazy things in the graveyard, but they're not the only ones too, so yeah, it's good to always have like an Abyss Dweller play to go with. Also, you can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon 1 Phantom Knights monster from your hand, except itself, and you can increase that card's level by 1. So yeah, like there are ways to level modulate aside from this card too. So, but again, like I'm either going to cut this one or the Rag Gloves, one or the other. But again, I do like what it can perform for you, so that's why I'm kind of like conflicted here. But anyway, let's keep moving on. 1 copy of Kagamucha Knight. I might bump this up to 2 because like I like that it's basically Kage to Kage, but only for level 3 monsters. So yeah, when you normal summon the level 3, you can special summon this card from your hand. Used to be pretty strong with Tour Guy, but Tour Guy is just too vulnerable to like targeting effects, like especially Imperm. So like you don't want your Tour Guy to get negated. And yeah, you'll still have another level 3, but sometimes like, yeah, it can be kind of rough if you don't get to resolve it. I am running the a small BA package, so 1 Graph, 1 Seer. Basically, you bring this off of you send Graph off of Cherubini's effect to get into your Seer, and then Seer will bring back your Cherubini once you link them off for a Rusty Bardiche. That's just one of the main combos, and yeah, it's a pretty cool engine overall. Also running the Psychic engine, 1 Wielder, 1 Tracker. Since we are on E-Tele, you can bring these out really easily, and also as long as you control a level 3 monster other than themselves, their free special summon. So yeah, great powerful extenders. I'm not running any dangers because I am on actual hand traps in this deck, so I had to cut Jackalope and Tsuchinoko, but they may make their comeback one of these days. But for now, I kind of like this lineup as is. And as I mentioned, I am on the Adventure Token package, so I've got to run 3 copies of Water Enchantress. You can banish this card from your hand or your graveyard, and then add a Rite of Aramir Seer. And also, if you control an Adventure Token, you can special summon this card too, but most of the time you're not going to do that. But if you do, you know, it's there when you need it. Next up, one Griffin to go along with it, because, like, yeah, it's searchable. You can special summon this card while you have a an Adventure Token. And also, this card is basically an Omni Negate that literally shuffles itself back, so you always have a way to search it back out, and it's pretty nice. Next, 3 of Rite of Aramir Seer. That's basically your token generator. So yeah, there's not much more to say to that. Also, if you don't have a Faithful Adventure on field, it literally activates it directly from your deck, so there you go. And this is the card that you use to search out your Griffin, and it also equip your Draco back to your token. In which case, 1 Draco back. Alright, so that pretty much rounds out all that. Let's move on to the other spells here. Alright, so for my spells, playing 3 copies of E-Telly. A great card because it's not once per turn. And also, it's a good way to bait out your opponent's Ash Blossoms, because like sometimes they're not going to know what you're really on if you activate this first, and that's pretty nice. And we are on Triple T as well, so this is a great way to punish your opponent. 1 Called By, 1 Rhoda, and of course 1 copy of Foolish Burial. All standard pieces for your Phantom Knight deck. For the Phantom Knight spell cards, I'm sorry, not spell cards, trap cards. 2 Fogblade. I was thinking of running 3, but I think 3 was just too much. So 2 felt like the magic number for me. 1 Phantom Knight's Wing, which is pretty nice. It acts as a form of Monster Reborn. Same thing with Fogblade, technically speaking. And of course, I already mentioned we are the 1 Brigadine. Brigadine is just so good because, like, as long as you have no traps in your graveyard, you can literally activate this on the turn it's set, and you got a free monster just like that. So great way to help me go into Appaloosa much faster and all that stuff. Because Appaloosa says you just can't use tokens, and this is not a token. So yeah, it really comes in handy. Alright, so now moving on to the other disruption pieces. I am on 3 Ash Blossom. 3 Droll and Lockbird, you know, just generically good hand traps. Droll's still pretty strong this format. 3 Droplet. Droplet is so good right now, especially because, like, again, we don't have to worry about, like, any macro cards. Well, I mean, yeah, D-Shifter is still technically a macro card, but honestly, it's not too hard to play around. And also, yeah, it's not like anyone's actually on Macrocosmo itself, so that's another cool thing. And then finally, 3 copies of Imperm, you know, great way just to, like, stun out your opponent whenever you need it. So, yeah. Alright, so now moving on to the extra deck. My extra deck lineup is pretty standard. So, like, gonna be playing 1 Rusty Bardiche. Oops, hang on. Card got stuck to each other. So, yeah, 1 Rusty Bardiche. Foolish Burial is one of your Phantom Knight monsters and sets a Phantom Knight spell or trap from your deck, in which case you get an instant Fogblade just like that. 1 Cherubini. Cherubini's crazy because it just requires 2 level 3s, and again, just basically activates your whole your BA package just like that. 1 Dark. There are a lot of decks that use Dark monsters right now, so it definitely comes in handy when you need it. IP is still pretty strong, as well as Nightmare Unicorn. 1 Appaloosa, and finally 1 Access Code, just a great card too, just to end games and clear boards. All right, and then for my Xyz lineup, 2 copies of Breaksword. Breaksword is probably your most important piece. If it's destroyed, you can special summon 2 level 3 Phantom Knight monsters in your graveyard, and then you get to increase their level by 1. And this is especially handy, like I said, because we are on a couple of rank 4s. So yeah, you definitely want to take full advantage of that. Speaking of rank 4s, I am on the Arc Rebellion Xyz line, so 1 Raiders Knight and 1 Arc Rebellion Xyz Dragon. 1 Leviair the Sea Dragon, still a powerful card just to bring back your banished pieces. 1 Abyss Dweller. 1 Downerd Magician and 1 Zeus. Yeah, we do have the new anti-Zeus card, Typhon. Great card and all, and there are some decks that are playing it right now, but you know, if I do get my hands on one, I'll probably cut the Downerd Magician and play one of those. But sometimes, you know, like if no one's on the anti-Zeus, you know, Zeus can still be a very a devastating card overall. So, like, yeah, don't underestimate Zeus when it does drop. All right, so that rounds up all that. Now for the side deck, my side deck's a little different than most of what you'll probably see, but starting off with, I am playing a Bestial line, so 2 Druid Swarm, 1 Magnemite, because, you know, Tearlament is still, like, one of the best decks right now. And also, like, I like to play a combination of these with the DD Crows, because, like, DD Crow's just super flexible, because, like, against Unchained, you know, DD Crow can be pretty devastating. Rescue Ace, you know, like, if you hit the right cards, it can be pretty powerful, too. With Branded, like, you mostly want to do it in response to, like, one of their fusions activations, mainly the first Chimera, the King of Phantom Beast, because, like, yeah, it'll target a Fiend, Illusion, or a Beast monster in their graveyard, so you'll want to hit that. Pretty strong against the Rinbrum play too, so like if they activate Rinbrum, target itself and a Fallen of Alabast, you just hit the other target and the effect basically just fizzles out. 3 Nibiru for just like any other combo heavy deck. Evenly Matched as a board breaker, and a tech card that I decided to throw in because it doesn't really affect me all that much. In fact, it doesn't even affect me at all, so like, and I found that it's actually pretty strong against a lot of the matchups right now. 3 copies of Grave of the Super Ancient Organisms. A really powerful floodgate for anything that plays like level 6 or higher monsters. Like Tearlament does actually have quite a bit of those. And it stops Branded entirely because like as soon as they go into their fusion monsters, they can't really do anything. They can't activate their effects or even attack, which is really nice. Strong against the anybody on Cashier or Fenrir too, because like they can't even attack with it or even activate its effect. And then finally against Rescue Ace, yeah, they'll still use some of their effects from the grave, but on the field, like there's not much they can do. So like, yeah, theoretically, yeah, this card is actually pretty strong right now. So definitely give it a shot if you're interested. But anyway, that rounds up everything. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will catch you guys again next time.